Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Nahibi Kauffman, and today we will be learning how to support students with dyslexia. Today, we will be covering common misconceptions people have about dyslexia, and you'll be able to test your knowledge of these misconceptions. Then, we will learn popular indicators of someone who may have dyslexia. I will also be sharing a PDF file with you that covers an extensive list of characteristics and other information about dyslexia. Next, I will talk to you a little bit about effective strategies to use when students with dyslexia. And lastly, I will end this presentation with a quick phonological awareness lesson using a multisensory approach. Okay, so let's begin. Here are 6 statements about dyslexia. Can you figure out which are myth and which are fact? Number 1 says, letter reversals are an indicative sign of dyslexia. Number 2, color overlays help people with dyslexia read better. Number 3, dyslexia is a cognitive impairment. Number 4, dyslexia is genetic. Number 5, dyslexia affects 1 in 5 people. And number 6, people with dyslexia think and read slowly. I'll give you some think time. Can you point out which are true? Okay, I'll give you a hint. 2 of these statements are true. Did that narrow it down for you? Okay, here we go. Number 1 is false, because letter reversals are quite common in children starting school. Numbers 2 and 3 are both false, because dyslexia is neither a cognitive nor a visual impairment. Instead, it is a language impairment. Number 4 is definitely true. Dyslexia is in fact genetic. Number 5 is also true. Is that one surprising to you? Dyslexia is very prevalent. 1 in 5 people have dyslexia. And lastly, number 6 is false. People with dyslexia do not think slowly. On the contrary, they think very fast, but the reading is slowed down to the language impairment and difficulty with decoding words. Okay, in the previous slide, you may have learned that 1 in 5 people are affected by dyslexia. So with its prevalence, you might think that identifying and diagnosing dyslexia is commonplace in the classroom. Would you be surprised if I told you that only 4% of people are diagnosed with dyslexia? That's right, only 4% are diagnosed. Misconceptions and identification go hand in hand. Identification of dyslexia is delayed partly because of misconceptions that are believed in the classroom. So for example, if a teacher believes that dyslexia is a visual problem, then he or she is likely to intervene in a way that aids a student's visual perception and not their language problem. But thanks to the science and the work of researchers, today we know that dyslexia is a language problem. So if we want to identify it, the first thing that we need to understand is that dyslexia is a language problem. Some of the things that we need to look out for are students who struggle with learning their letters and sounds despite the repetitive instruction, or students who struggle to comprehend what they just read, or simply taking note of when students have a difficult time with word retrieval and often use words like thingy, stuff, that thing, when referring to a specific item. Now, 2 things to note. 1, this is not an exhaustive list of characteristics. There exists many more indicators of dyslexia, and I only narrowed down those that affect the language component. 2, these symptoms, among others, will persist over time despite appropriate instruction. So for example, if a student entering kindergarten is having a difficult time with learning his letters or sounds, this is not an indicator that he may have dyslexia. Other factors have to come into play, such as the appropriateness of instruction and the length of instruction. For a greater list of symptoms and characteristics, I invite you to scan this QR code to access an extensive list of dyslexia facts and information. So, once you know how to identify students and you have successfully assessed a student for dyslexia, it is now time to apply effective strategies to aid those students with dyslexia. Orton Gillingham is a leading intervention program that helps students with dyslexia by teaching spelling and reading in an explicit and systematic way while incorporating sight, hear, touch, and movement to help students connect letters and words. Anything that is kinesthetic in nature will allow the student to anything that is kinesthetic that will allow the student to flip, touch, or trace letters and words will greatly benefit them. We all know how creative teachers are, and I have included pictures of multisensory activities created by teachers and inspired by the Orton Gillingham approach. Okay, so here is my video, but before we dive into it, I want to explain what this activity is called and why it is effective. This activity is known as phoneme manipulation, and it falls under the phonological awareness skill. Phoneme refers to the smallest unit of sound, so you will see me dictating a sound per tile, and the student is tasked with blending those sounds together. Then you will see me removing one tile and replacing it with a different color tile and a different phoneme or sound. This really works a student's phonological awareness skill because they really need to rely on the sounds that they hear and manipulate those sounds without actually seeing the letter correspondence to that sound. Okay, so let's take a look. D, I, N.
Din.
Good. Ch.
E. Chin.
Good job. P.
Ip. Chip.
Good job. Sh.
Ip. Ship.
Very good. Up.
Up. Shop.
Good. Last one. Mm.
Up. Mop.
Very good. Okay, so here is the list of the references that helped me develop this presentation, along with the images that I used. And lastly, I want to thank you once again for joining me, and I welcome any questions that you may have.